Hey guys, so I just recorded my demo and review of the Smashbox Camera Ready BB Cream, and I will link that down below, and I figured I would just do a get ready with me vlog to show how the rest of my makeup's going to go for today. So I'm just going to kind of talk about my experience as a new mom. You know, I kind of talk randomly here and there about that, but I think it's something that is a very interesting topic to me, because when you are growing up and you know, you kind of get to an age where you decide that you want to have kids, and you know, other people, mainly other parents, start giving you advice or telling you what it's going to be like. My experience with that was a lot of people tried to make it sound like it was going to be this scary and almost negative experience. Like, they talk about, you know, like the bad side of parenting, like when your kids cry all the time, or you're never going to get to sleep through the night again, or you know, your kid is going to destroy that new couch you bought, and they're going to get into all of your stuff, and they're going to break your crystal vases, and they're going to throw temper tantrums when you're in the store, and they're going to embarrass you. And it was very strange to me that that was what a lot of people were telling me. And these were parents themselves who love their kids very much. You know, they... But it just was so weird to me how, like, that was what they were choosing to, like, pass along to me in terms of, like, advice and, like, what my life was going to turn into. You know, like, you know, there's always the, like, your life is never going to be the same. And then it would be followed with, because your kid is going to destroy your stuff, or your kid is going to embarrass you, or they're going to cost you a fortune, or they're going to do this or do that. And it was almost like they were trying to, like, discourage, or I don't know, it felt like, oh, finally, like, you're going to join us, like, in the misery of parenting. That's kind of what it came across as to me, and it was so strange, like, you know, because before we decided to, like, have kids or, like, get pregnant, like, most of the feedback at that point was like, oh, this is so magical, it's so fun, like, you're gonna love being a parent. And then once we got pregnant, like, parents just were, like, telling us horror stories about all of the awful things that, you know, their kids did. And I was like, okay. Like, it was just so strange. And, you know, the whole, like, you're never gonna get to sleep again, like, it was just really kind of off-putting, and it made me nervous to, like, actually have my kid, because I sort of felt like, oh my God, like, did I make a mistake? Like, I don't want to spend, you know, the next 4 or 5 years of my life dealing with, like, a baby terrorist. Like, that's what popped into my head. And so I was really almost kind of scared to actually have Stella. And there were a few times where, you know, I was 6-7 months pregnant, and I was like, ooh, please don't come out. Please don't ruin my life, you know? And, you know, like, that feeling would obviously go away, and I just got so excited to meet her. But it, like, the fact that people did that was just so strange to me. And you know, even after I had her, it was bizarre to me, like, the things that people would say, like, you know, like, it was almost like free range for people to give me, like, parenting advice, like, and very, like, unsolicited parenting advice, like, you should be doing this, or you shouldn't do that, you know, like, I would post a picture of Stella in her little, like, baby bouncer thing, and she would be in the middle of our dining room table, which is absolutely huge. And at the time, she was, you know, a month old, and definitely not crawling, definitely not rolling over. She was strapped into that thing. She was nowhere near the edge of the table. And people would be like, oh my God, why do you have her on the table in her bouncer? And, you know, like, oh, you're putting your child in danger. How could you do that? And I would just be like, where's she gonna go? Like, and who asked you? Like, that I think was like probably like my first reaction, you know, like, who asked you? Like, and why do you need to like comment on this in such a public way, like on a Facebook picture, when I'm just sharing like with my friends and family, like this happy, brand new, perfect little baby that I'm so excited about. You know, I have this one particular person in my life who feels the need to, you know, whenever she sees fit, make comments about little things like, you know, a couple days ago, I asked this question of, you know, some of my friends, what is your experience with Scentsy wax things versus like the ones that you get at Walmart or, you know, Fred Meyer or whatever. And, you know, everybody that responded for the most part, well, everybody with the exception of this one person, you know, was like, oh, I don't see a difference between the two. You know, and some of these people were parents, some of them weren't, some of them were, you know, grandmothers. And she left a, you know, rather lengthy response of, you know, you should look into the research of, you know, how these scented products in your home are going to basically cause, you know, developmental delays in your kid, and you're putting your child in danger, and kind of implying that I was like abusing Stella in a way by using a Scentsy warmer in my living room every other day. Or, you know, the fact that like I burn scented candles, like I'm ruining Stella's future and turning her into an idiot. You know, I just, you know, when I read that comment, I was like, whoa, one, I didn't ask you. Two, where do you get off saying something like that? Like, especially in a public forum, and basically almost accusing me of like abusing my child. You know, and this person is a parent herself, and she has obviously very strong views about, you know, she's very like, the kids don't watch TV, they eat organic food, they, you know, are not exposed to synthetic fragrances, you know, blah, 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 which is fine. Like, raise your kid however you want. But I can also do that with mine. You know, like, I would never presume to say something like that to somebody. And, you know, I should have probably expected it from her because she's notorious for doing stuff like this. But it was, you know, I was so frustrated. Like, I kept looking at the comment and thinking, you know, if I would have asked, like, what color of lead paint chip is, you know, the best option for Stella's afternoon snack in order to cause maximum, like, developmental delays in her future, like, I could see maybe somebody saying, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to feed your child lead paint chips. Absolutely. But I didn't ask that, you know? And it just surprises me how many people just feel like they can put their opinions out there or like cite research and tell you that, like, well, according to this article, you're doing this wrong. And it's just like, it's none of your business. Like, raise your kid the way that you see fit. Or if you don't have kids, you know, you don't get to have an opinion. You know, like, just mind your own business. And, like, that's the one thing about parenting that has just really kind of thrown me off, is like the need for people to make comments. Like, when I was pregnant, you know, and I would go and eat sushi, like in, you know, like the latter part of my pregnancy, like, people would say stuff to me like, you shouldn't be eating sushi right now. Like, that's not healthy for your baby. Like, you're going to get worms and your baby's going to get worms. And I was just like, you don't know me. It's none of your business. And, you know, now like being a parent and having those experiences, like it really, I am so careful to not like make people feel, especially like, you know, when our friends are getting pregnant and having their kids, like pushing my experiences on them, because everybody's experience is different, you know, and every child that you have is different if you have multiple children. So, you know, it just, like, I just think everybody should be able to do what they want to do in terms of raising their kid. And it's nobody's place to tell you whether you're doing it wrong or right or perfectly or completely wrong and imperfectly. Like, it's just not anybody's place to tell you, you know, unless it's like your mom. Like, I could see my mom maybe saying something to me, and even then I would be like, hey, my kid, your grandkid, you had your turn. Now it's my turn, you know, and I might do things differently, but that doesn't make it bad. It just makes it different. So, you know, that's one of the things about parenting that has really kind of surprised me and just made me very like sensitive and like irritated with a lot of people. You know, it's that like, you know, if you don't do it this way, then you're doing it wrong mentality. And, you know, just the whole like, this is going to ruin your life and blah, blah, blah. You know, that whole part of it was like, oh my God, like, I would never say stuff like that to people. Like, we got really lucky with Stella. I mean, she started sleeping through the night, and by through the night, I mean, she was sleeping like 12 hours a night when she was 6 weeks old, you know, and we would tell people that, and, you know, we'd be so like proud, like, you know, our baby girl loves to sleep, and it's so great because we heard all these horror stories, but, you know, she's doing really great with it. The first thing they would say is, well, just wait another 2 weeks. It's going to change. And then you're not going to get any sleep at all. Or you just wait until she's a teenager. She may be an easy baby now, but she's going to make your life a living hell then. And I'm like, why do you have to be so like negative about it? Like, why can't she just be a good, easygoing kid? You know, like, oh, and how do you know what she's going to be like as a teenager? You have no idea. And you shouldn't say stuff like that. Like, why be so discouraging and negative? And, you know, just because your kid does something one way doesn't mean my kid is going to do it the exact same way. You know, it's just like, it's so weird the way that some people react towards you. And, you know, I don't think it's jealousy. I think it's just like this weird know-it-all mentality that people get sometimes, and they just spout stuff off, and maybe later they regret it, or maybe like they're not aware of it at all. And I'm usually pretty like, I will laugh a lot of things off, and it takes a lot for me to get like riled up or really upset about something. And, you know, there have definitely been a few things in the last few months that people have said, you know, and it's usually the same people over and over again, that I'm just like, you just make me want to like eliminate you from my life. Like, is that what you're going for? Because if it is, like, you can just tell me that you don't want to be friends with me because you don't like the way I'm raising my kid. No loss. I mean, you move on with your life, I move on with mine. You know, but I don't know if that's what these people are doing, or if it's just that like they feel the need to like spread the word about the best way to do things, you know, or a not good way to do things. So anyway, that part of parenting has been kind of rough for me for like the last little bit here, because I'm just getting to a point with some people in my life where I'm like, I just don't even want you around because you are nothing but negative and nasty, and I don't understand why you need to be that way. You know, and parenthood for me has been, I mean, it hasn't come like super easy. Like, it's a huge adjustment, and I'm not going to lie about that. But, you know, for me, I always saw like the addition of a child or a baby as like just an addition to my life. Like, I never looked at it as like, oh my God, this is going to change my life forever, and I'm never going to be able to do the things that I want to again, and my entire world is going to revolve around this kid. And, you know, I never looked at parenthood that way, because if I would have never gotten pregnant. Like, you know, when I got pregnant, I was like, yay, she's going to be an addition to my life, and it's going to be amazing, and I'm so excited about her. And, you know, sort of the feeling that I got from other people was like, well, go ahead and have that attitude, but I guarantee you that, like, you're never going to be able to do the things that you want to do again. Like, you'll never be able to go out to dinner again, or, you know, like, this is going to be so much harder, or that's going to be so much harder. And I was just like, well, why do you need to say that? Like, you know, and when I had her, like, I mean, things change, like, don't get me wrong, but I think it was in the way that I looked at it. Like, I still work, like, and I wanted to continue working. And, you know, like, I work around her, and I don't view her as like a hindrance to that. I don't get angry with her about like being needy during the day when I should be emailing. Like, I just don't look at it that way. And I think that people look at it differently, and then they expect you to look at it their way. And I don't. So, you know, I think that when people like say stuff like that, it just always makes me want to go, hey, I'm like, here's another person's experience who isn't, you know, negative about it. Like, you know, I'm having a good time being a mom. Like, it's exhausting sometimes, yes. But I have a good kid, you know, and she's funny, and she's well adjusted, and she's healthy, and, you know, she's having a good time in her life. And, you know, like, I share the positive experiences, like, with our friends who are pregnant for the first time, and, you know, are having kids and super excited. Like, I would never say to them, like, you know, you're going to deal with like nasty, shitty diapers all the time, and it's disgusting, and like, I just choose not to do that. And it's just astounding to me how many people do, and especially people who are parents and who know like what an adjustment it can be. And like, it almost feels like people are not being helpful. Like, they're purposely not being helpful. Like, they're trying to make you feel like, you know, this is not supposed to be a good experience, or it's filled with nothing but, you know, bad things. And like I said, that part of parenthood just really kind of throws me off. And that's hard. That's hard. Absolutely. And sometimes I can look past, you know, stupid comments, and sometimes I get really pissed, and then I say something snotty back. But I try not to be snotty, just because I don't like to stoop to other people's levels. So anyway, but parenthood for me has been awesome. You know, I've had a really good time with Stella. She's a good baby. She's, like I said, she's funny. She has a sense of humor. And, you know, when I had her, like, I was not somebody who enjoyed giving birth. Like, I'll be honest, it was painful and it sucked, and I would never choose to do it again. But that's not like everybody's experience. Like, just because it was like kind of awful for me, it doesn't mean it's going to be awful for somebody else. And like, I would never like say that to somebody, you know, if they're asking me about like my birth experience. Like, you know, I'll be honest, but I also say, look, I know other people who just like breeze through it. It varies from person to person, and you really have to be, you know, just willing to have your own experience. And, you know, get an epidural. Like, highly recommend them. But if you don't want an epidural, like, and you want a natural birth, I think that's fantastic too. You know, I had a lot of people who, I think were kind of like, how could you have an epidural? Like, that could potentially like damage your child somehow. And like, why would you not choose to embrace like this natural process? And I was just like, if you want to sit there like for hours and, you know, have the worst pain of your life and breathe through that, then that's great. You should breathe through it. I don't want to do that. So yeah, it's just, I think when it comes to like parenting and people are like saying stuff to you, always sort of remember that just because that is that person's experience, that doesn't mean it's going to be your experience. Everybody is going to have a different approach to parenting, what they think is right, what they think is wrong. And you should never put those opinions on somebody else because it's not your kid. You know, it's just not. Like, once you have your own kids, you get to raise them however you want. But until, you know, you have your own kids, like, and even when you have your own kids, like, raise them your way and don't tell somebody else how to do it your way. Because it just, nobody has to, like, all right, guys, I have no idea at what point the camera cut off. But I just wanted to basically just kind of finish up by saying that if you are nervous about having kids, or you've heard these horror stories from people, like, take everything that you hear with a grain of salt. And for those parents out there, like, just watch what you say to other people. You know, I think it's nice to share funny stories with people, and, you know, even some words of caution. But I think you have to be very careful about the way that you choose to do that so that you're not forcing your views upon somebody else. You know, that can be just very hard for some people to, like, process. And, you know, you might really discourage somebody by giving, you know, unsolicited advice or telling them that they're doing something wrong. Like, you know, I think that most people have good common sense and don't do things to purposely harm their children. And just because somebody does something differently than you, that doesn't make them right or wrong in that situation. It just makes them a different parent than you. And that's okay. So, you know, and I think it's also important, like, as women, to just encourage each other versus trying to put each other down. Like, I see that a lot, and that's, you know, really, those are the things about parenting, like, and being a new parent that have been an adjustment for me, is learning to have those people around and, like, dealing with some of the comments that they make. And, you know, it just reminds me, like, every day, like, to not do stuff like that. And I hope that at some point, you know, the people that I know that do stuff like that sort of catch on themselves and say, maybe not my place to do that. So anyway, that was just a little bit about, you know, some parenting stuff that I think about sometimes and that I've just been dealing with lately. You know, there's lots of different aspects of parenting, and if you are younger and you think about having kids someday, like, it's an amazing thing, and your experience will be completely unique from anything that anybody tells you. So don't let that discourage you or make you feel anxious or negative about it. Just don't let that influence your opinions, you know, like, and, you know, if you have the balls, tell people to shut the hell up. Sometimes I wish I could do that, but I try not to take that route as much as possible. So anyway, being a mom is great. I have an awesome kid and I love her, and she's a fantastic part of my life. So anyway, I'll do other vlogs about, you know, parenting stuff in the future. And yeah, so for all the other moms out there, keep doing what you're doing, whatever it is that you're doing. If your kids are happy, they're healthy, they are well adjusted, then you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. And however you get to that point, totally up to you. And I just give you mad props for being a parent, because it's not easy. You know, and it can be a challenge sometimes, and it can be amazing sometimes, and it can just be sort of meh sometimes. So, yeah. Anyway, enough on that, and I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. And so here's my final look. I'll be sure to list everything below. I obviously was just jibber jabbering away, so I never told you what I was putting on my face. But so this is the final look. Unfortunately, my eye is watering a little bit in the corner here, and so it keeps like messing up the makeup over there, but that's not a big deal. So I'm gonna go blow dry my hair, and I think I hear Stella stirring, so I'm gonna go get her baba, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.